norms and stereotypes to making sure that the butts are wet. Boy, girl, mom and dad want grown-up time, you're going mad. It's a trip, but we'll guide you through with tips and tricks for boys and girls too.
Welcome back.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
I don't want to make that a thing.
I like it.
Well, I like
Do you want
it.
it to sound different?
No, it's fine. Look,
Ba-da-bow-ba-da-bow.
you can work on that for your homework. We're going to go ahead and apologize in advance for the construction in the background. Just think of it as a fun little spicy ad this
We're
week.
adding a wing to our 10,000 square foot home. So it's just, they're busy building
You know,
more rooms.
You can't stop work.
Yeah.
Also, you may notice that my voice sounds a little bit different. And that's because I lost my voice since coming back. It sounds great compared to like the past 5 days. But, I'm here with some lemon water Nick made me, and I'm drinking my water. And they're new Fellow cups and a clink.
Shout out Fellow.
Fellow, we are using their cold Carter mugs they just came out with. Perfect for summer. Great for iced coffee. We're drinking water in it. Fits in your cup holder. Mine's the really cute Perry Twinkle color. Nick's is navy. Anyway, I'll link it for you.
Mine's cool too. You give a fun adjective for yours and not for mine.
No, that's
Nick's is blue.
No, that's literally what they call the color on the website, Perry Twinkle.
You said beautiful Perry Twinkle. What's this?
That's
Give it a compliment.
That's a classic navy.
Classic navy.
Yeah,
Classic's
anyway.
good.
So today we're going to be talking about spontaneity out of necessity as parents. And it's actually ironic because this is the least prepared I've been for any podcast episode leading up to this. And you know what? It's going to be okay.
We have a detailed outline. We're good.
We are recording at the last possible moment to get it to our editor just because my voice has been out and we've been out of town. But it's all going to be good and you're going to get it next week.
It's coming at you.
On launch day. And when you listen on launch day, we really appreciate it. It helps boost our numbers.
True.
So before we get into it, I want to give a little bit of an update on last week. If you listened to last week's episode, it was called Do Mom Friends Exist IRL in Real Life? And I talk about a dream of mine to create a paper towel plate. If you missed it, you're going to have to go back and talk about it or listen to it to learn about it. But today we're going to talk about it because I'm going to read the comments I've got in real time to Nick.
Things I didn't agree to.
My idea. Okay. I posted on Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, go follow us there. I post some fun stuff there. We're on boygirlmom.com, boygirlmom.com. And the comments that I have so far on this reel are honestly iconic. Love the invention, but the jingle too. I'm personally a huge paper towel lover, so I'm invested in this idea. $1 million idea. I'll just stop there because people
know
love
what?
it.
It's amazing what people will write if you pay them to comment on your posts. So
we don't have budget for that. Anyway.
That's good that 2 people thought your idea was
No,
great.
that was more than 2 people. Also, the jingle's so fun. So
the
honestly,
jingle is great.
Yeah. You like it better than the idea. I know. Okay. For today's TIFF, I thought it would be fun because we're going to talk about going with the flow and boundaries, but standing firm. And so today we're talking about the toilet seat. And this is a TIFF that we both actually do the same thing. I want to talk about other people because I found it so interesting when people leave their toilet seat up. And perhaps Nick and I came both from a family who had cats. So I think
Are you talking about the toilet seat or the toilet seat cover?
The toilet seat cover? Well, first of all, Nick puts all of them down. So we don't even need to talk about guys leaving the toilet seat, like the part you sit on, up. So that's out of the question. The question today is, do you leave the toilet lid, I suppose, up or down? We are a down house. And I think, like I said, Nick and I both came from houses with cats. So that might have been part of it. But also, when you flush, you release germs into I don't know. It's just good to shut the lid.
I don't see any reason it helps to keep it open.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And people who leave it open, there are people I love dearly who leave it open. But it's also just what if something falls into it? You just have an opportunity for a lot of mishap, I think.
Yeah.
Plus it contains the germs. I mean, obviously clean your toilet.
This is one of the friendlier TIFFs you've picked because we're all both on the same side.
Yeah,
so
we can be on the same side.
Yeah.
It is a TIFF.
I want to hear from somebody who's not on our side.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just laziness. I want to hear if somebody actually has a reason that they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Leave it open.
You walk into a house, you notice immediately when you go to the bathroom if they're an open lid or a closed lid family.
Yeah.
I'm not
Not
sure
that
what-
it frustrates us, but just for
No.
our place, closed.
No, it's
We also have a Great
closed.
Dane. He's going to
Oh
drink
my
that
gosh,
water
it would
if we
be
leave it
a
open.
actual perfect water bowl for him.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's we don't really have you want to talk on it at all, Nick?
No,
We're both
we're
team
aligned.
close the lid. And yeah, high five. Yeah.
Mhm.
I will link for fun. Like I really like for our toilet cleaner. It's called Blue Land and they're little pods. Like you put it in and they foam up and they're actually really fun. I'll link them for here in case you're interested because I like them. It makes actually cleaning the toilet fun. And the twins like to do it too. So yeah.
What a tiff.
Getting into today's episode, this episode drops like right before 4th of July. It's the last episode before 4th of July. So I thought this would be a great topic to discuss because a lot of people think you lose your freedom whenever you become a parent. And like you do in a lot of ways. Like you can't just like up and leave sometimes and like nap times are a real thing. But you also
can, you just shouldn't.
Right. But you also gain a lot of things in other ways. And so anyway, that's my tie-in to the holiday coming up and I hope you'll listen along.
We're going to talk about freedom.
Freedom. I'm an Enneagram 1 type A. We've kind of talked about this before, but I do have a creative streak in me where like I have some, messier, not that all creatives are messy, but more like messy bits about me that I think attribute to the creative streak. My point is I would never really describe myself as easygoing. Would you, Nick? He's laughing over there, stifling a laugh.
I would describe you as awesome.
I have described myself before, like to a friend, as I'm flexible until I'm not flexible. And she was like, yep, that sounds about right. But having twins made me loosen up. They made me more flexible. And you would think it would be the opposite way, that having twins made me less flexible, but it's just really the opposite. And this actually started when I was pregnant. And I think because I went into the mindset like, well, anything out there for the most part is not going to make sense for me in my like birth story and like for how I'm raising them. And it's not, I didn't have a problem with that. I just recognized like, okay, I need to loosen my grip on what I thought this would be.
You recognized a loss of control because of how unpredictable a twin pregnancy can be.
Yeah.
You did embrace that pretty well.
Yeah.
In pregnancy,
it's like I was sick all the time. So I was like, okay, like I say, I put myself basically on voluntary bed rest. I did a lot, but I also like took it easy too. But like an example of that would be after I got out of the first trimester, like at the beginning of the second, I think, we were going on a girls' trip. Well, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I got pregnant in January and then we went on this trip in April. And I remember like my friend was coming to pick me up. One friend was already here and then we were going to pick up another friend from the airport. And she was like, I'm so sorry I'm running late, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's okay. We don't have a schedule. We can do whatever we want. And she turns around and looks at me because I got in the car at that point. She was like, who are you? And what did you do with Lauren? Because normally I'm like, and this is our schedule and this is what we're doing and blah, 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 which there's a great place for that. Like you can really benefit a lot on a trip.
And it's not that you always have to be in control. It's that you prefer there to be structure and a plan, whether you made that plan or not.
We can talk about this, but like a lot of our trips we've gone on fairly lately, like are very last minute and really not because I'm trying to be, but because that's what I have. That's when I have the time for it. It's like last minute.
Yeah, and they've been great.
There are definitely things to do. Like we're planning a Europe trip right now. And, there are certain things you need to plan ahead of time. But there are certain cases where you can like give. And so I feel like we've both been doing that more, a trip specifically. So that was just an example of, even in pregnancy, how I was. So I did a quick search pre this episode and a little search engine, not Google. I would just say Google, but on like a search engine that I use sometimes to see like who is searching what about a certain topic.
Is it Ask Jeeves?
No, but I do remember Ask You. Did you text him? Remember, you could text him too.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
him. I never thought it was him. That's what
Jeeves
the world
is a guy though.
Nah,
Jeeves. It was a picture of a guy.
Baby, it was a cartoon.
The cartoon was a man.
Yeah, do you think you can text cartoons?
I don't think it was a real person. I'm just saying Jeeves is a guy.
You know what? We'll text Mickey Mouse after this and see if he responds. Okay? That'll settle it.
Anyway, I searched on there having fun after kids and there were little to no searches. And it was I was honestly baffled, but it made sense. Like I've searched this a lot. So I see like, massive amounts of information on what people search. But I think it just aligns with people think that they can't have fun after kids. So like the 4 searches that came up, minimal, right, were how to have fun as a kid, how to have fun with your child, and then is it okay to have a lazy day with a toddler?
Mm.
Which I LOL'd about. And I think what is missing from this is like, what about you? Like you as a parent, us as a parent, like we matter. And it matters if we have fun in what we're doing, which the whole reason this episode is existing is because like, spoiler alert, if we feel like spontaneity is a necessity as a parent because it helps us have fun and in turn helps us our mental health, right? So we brought our kids into our life, not the other way around. And sometimes that means getting up and getting out and go doing something.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to make a joke like, yeah, we matter. The kids don't, which obviously isn't true. Yeah, like the way I like to describe it is, I think I've said this before on other episodes, is, your kids are going to become an inhibitor to your life if you let them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's more on you and on us, right, as parents, to make sure that line is towed properly, as opposed to you just letting your freedom go away. Because it's not the kid's fault that they need somebody to raise them, right? You've decided to bring them into this world, but you should be able to bring them to things that you already do, which we've talked about in the past.
And I've said it before, but like if a child is having fun, they're having fun. It doesn't matter if it's not like a childlike activity, like playing with a toy in their home. Point being is that spontaneity made us feel like ourselves, even if it was like a family trip to Trader Joe's or something like that. It doesn't have to be a big trip or a big thing or something, but just like going out and doing it and having fun along the way, because that's what life is, like making fun and having fun, even in sometimes mundane moments.
Yeah. And to clarify, like spontaneity in our minds does not mean that structure needs to go out the window and that your nap and bedtime schedules and feeding schedules and everything need to go out the window. Those things are important to a point, but like you don't need to hold to them so rigidly, in our opinion, that they inhibit your ability to be spontaneous and go do fun things. And also, like, simply because your kids need things doesn't mean you can't give them the same things when you're out and doing other things.
Yep.
Like we can give them food out and about or at a park or at the beach or
it takes a little bit of planning or making sure you have it, or it's like stopping at a store, but yeah,
sure,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, it is slightly more difficult. And like for bigger trips, it takes some significant planning and time, but like the alternative is you deciding not to do something as a result of you growing your own family.
Yeah. And there are definitely times where I am like, I do not have the energy to do this and I don't do it. And that's completely okay to rest. But then there are times where I'm like, I don't have the energy to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know that it's going to come out the other side and be at least somewhat glad that I did it.
Yeah.
I try to go into it with the mindset of like low bar for how it will go, with the ability to be surprised if it goes well or better than I expected. And then also know that it's going to come out with like a higher reward.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this with our traveling with kids stuff as well. Like there have been, honestly, most, if not all of the things we've brought them to, it's always been a great decision. There's like things that are hard on certain days or certain trips that we can either tweak or just like, we pushed them or ourselves to the limit a little bit, but it's usually not we shouldn't have done this, and it helps us grow and also introduces them to being in real life as opposed to just being cooped up as kids.
Yeah. So we thought we would kind of share like how to promote spontaneity in your life. So definitely talk about it with your partner regularly, whether that means you're having a family meeting or maybe it's just like before you go to sleep, you're talking about it. Like just make sure you're talking about things you want to do. And then, you're more likely to make it happen. I mean, what's that? Writing things down, saying things out loud, that helps you. Like actually, if you're manifesting, that's the word I'm looking for, that you're actually going to do it. So talking about it is a step in the right direction. You can also keep a running list on a shared note, or like Nick will send me TikTok videos of just like, things around LA or stuff that we could do.
I mean, not very often, like very sporadic.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
No, I like
sarcasm.
Go through like 100 weekly from him. Not necessarily all things to do in LA, but just things that he thinks about.
A lot of them though are experience based.
Yeah. Or like you can on Instagram, you can have that a saved folder for like a specific thing, like if you're going on a trip, or like you can label it LA or whatever. Also, like explore all options to make it happen. Like, is there a babysitter who could come? Is it something that one of you could go to? If everyone is going, can you have a friend come along? Or maybe it's something like one of you could do, but now everyone's going to go because you all need to get out of the house. Like, just before you rule it out as you can't do it, just really explore all the options.
Yeah. And also like lean on your friends' understanding and empathy of you. So like it's okay to say like, oh, I think that's going to be tough for us. Why don't you guys come over for a drink or for a snack or whatever, or hang out before you go out? So like you still get some of the camaraderie. If it's not in your budget to get a babysitter, it's past the kid's bedtime or whatever the reason might be that you aren't going to go. Like it doesn't mean your whole night has to, or day or whatever, has to just be without everything. Like they can be flexible and come to you too. And that's happened to us a bunch because we've got great friends who are willing to do that. But it's great.
Yeah, and I think that thinks about like friends and stuff who don't have kids, which we have quite a few of.
Yeah.
But then also if you are a friend, you're trying to see a friend who does have kids. Let's say they have, a 2-month-old. You have kids too, but guess what? I think it's easier for me to get, well, I was about to say it's easier. There are easier things about me getting out of the house with my 1.5-year-old twins than them getting out with
Right.
their 2-month-old. And I'm willing to do that
Right.
for them. Right.
Yeah.
And so again, there are just ways to give and take. And, the things that are like most worth doing like often aren't easy.
Mhm.
So yeah. And Nick, you talked about this a little bit earlier, but just you said to allow yourself to be unstructured when there's a reason.
Yeah, I mentioned it a second ago. Like structure is good, especially with kids. Obviously, like things like sleep training and feeding schedules and everything are important. But if you have a day or an event that doesn't really lend itself well to your schedule and your structure, like just try and adapt or be a little freeform that day. Like an example is we went to Universal Studios the other day for Father's Day, and we knew it was going to be a chaotic morning. We were excited to go, but we knew it was going to be hard to get there. We knew it was going to be tough while we were there. There were plenty of joyful moments that outweighed that, but like we didn't require our kids to go to sleep at noon. They started getting tired at a different time. We bent the stroller back and let them, or we let them sleep in the car. Like we fed them when they were hungry, not necessarily exactly when they would eat breakfast or lunch. It's okay to do that is the point.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about, I think it was last episode at the beginning, just an update on travel that like, no, our kids don't sleep as well traveling whenever compared to when they're at home. So apologies if that's what you thought happened. Never meant to do that.
Yeah, we did not say that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. But like, for example, we flew back last week from Texas and have never really seen a difference with different times of flying.
Mhm.
But those 2 flights we took round trip were both in the evenings. Well, the twins do not like evening flights anymore.
We've learned this.
As for now, meaning that they didn't sleep at all. And it's rough at night because, they're supposed to be asleep. And so they were just overtired. So like don't care that they didn't sleep, but we'd prefer a time where they're not going to be as upset. So,
Yeah.
we're looking to change our flights to like morning flights where we can, or like mid-morning, just not nap time or like,
Yeah.
sleep time at night, and just like, adapting and again, going in with a low bar so that you can sometimes be pleasantly surprised, and just to remember the high reward at the end. It's not low risk. I would say low bar, high reward is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
Nick, you also really big on implementing, like taking them to do things that we already do. So like we found a breakfast burrito. Let's go take them and just go do it,
Yeah.
or a new restaurant we want to try. Let's try to take them along. And we haven't like taken them as much out to a restaurant, but I think we'll probably start doing that soon.
We did when they were babies. We haven't recently.
It wasn't on purpose. It was more like they went to bed like earlier and now they're going to bed a little bit later. And I think we probably will start doing that more on restaurants where it makes sense to take them.
Yeah. To me, the bar in my head is like, do I want to do it? How do I make it work with the kids? If the answer is yes.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we have kids. Should I do this anymore? And like, there's an obvious line there. Like if you're going to an event that requires you to be 18 or 21 or older, like obviously don't try and force your stroller into the event. We're not trying to change those boundaries, but if you're a family that gets up and goes to breakfast, or you like to go to car shows, or you like to go to theme parks or whatever, like do those things and figure out how to bring your kids along with you. Like you've brought them into your family. Your family now does that, not just you and your spouse.
Yeah. And whenever we were talking about the outline, Nick, you brought up Saturday and how like we had a friend's birthday party to go to after a full day at Universal Studios. Our childcare fell through and we just brought the twins with us. Now, we had taken them to this place before, so we knew that they were allowed. So that was already within their boundary. And, those people love seeing the twins. So we just made it work. Like it was important to us to go. And so we just did it.
Honestly knew it would be hard, like that point of bringing them without having them home, having them out all day, up early, unstructured schedule during the day, rides, like a bunch of stimuli at Universal. We knew that that would be difficult, not hard on them or anything, but like a little more difficult than normal. And it was. They needed more attention. They wanted to be held by us and not the people they usually want to be held with in our friends. But it was still good. And our friend texted us and was very happy that we came and recognized how hard it was for us and really appreciated it.
Yeah.
We could have decided to go straight home. That would have been easier.
Yeah.
I'm very
we
happy
even
that we
had
did
like
it.
friends who are single / don't have kids. And they were like, oh, wow. Like, I don't even think I would have come here after a full day. At Universal. And here y'all are with babies.
Yeah.
Are you tearing up?
No.
Why are you tearing up?
There's like a dry air in this room, and it's like, I don't know. I just like that we do it. It makes me happy, and it makes me happy when it's recognized. Not because like we should be complimented or praised for it or anything. It's just like it's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
And even though we're encouraging people to go out and do it, I don't know. That's kind of the reason why, right? Like you should be able to celebrate your friends, show appreciation to your friends, and go to the events they invite you to, and bring along the kids you've decided to bring into this world. Like, to me, it's just part of the beautiful fruit that comes out of being spontaneous and going to things.
Yeah. And we talked about that, like, if you don't do it, you already said this a little bit, that you're allowing your kids to be like the line between your life and like them, and then resentment could form. And like,
yeah,
it's good to still like have a hobby and things like that outside of your children.
Yeah. To me, it's like, I don't know if I've said this to you before. It's like, let's say you want to go to, a car show, right? And your kids are super young. You have no idea if they like cars. Like, if you ask them and they could answer you, hey, little 1-year-old, do you want to go outside and go to a car show with me today? They wouldn't say, oh, probably not. It's too hard. They would probably say like, yeah, and be super interested in what you're interested in. But if you don't bring them along and give them the opportunity to see what that thing is, whether they like it or not later in life doesn't really matter. You're the one choosing to take that experience away from them. It's not them. They're not saying, no, don't take me.
They're pretty much game for whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, that's why it's easy for me to decide, like, do I want to go do this or do I not? If the answer is yes, figure out how to bring them, because they want to be a part of my life, So why would I not?
Yeah. Cause even like when we're home, like, they want to be held and like watch you make coffee, and like, they want to like see us cooking and things like that and be a part of it.
Yeah.
And they're at this age where like they are such a sponge of like doing things. I talked about this in a previous episode, but I think it was from the Montessori toddler book. And it's just like, you need to let them come in, especially in this toddler age, and like do things, because there'll be a time where they will stop asking if you do not let them in. So like, I had them help me clean the toilet, and it's a little bit more messy and I have to like pay attention, but like they're helping me, and this will hopefully but it basically prove itself later on.
Yeah.
By taking a little bit more time now.
Yeah.
When I have the time.
Yeah.
So as we've kind of talked about before, Nick is more easygoing than I am. He's always happy and joyful, and just a little bit leans more that way.
Usually.
Usually. Yeah. No, you're not. I'm not putting you in a box.
Yeah. I hear you.
Compared to me, you're more. And we've talked about how sometimes that can come back to bite too, just as far as like preparation and things like that. You can go back and listen to episode 3, do it in the morning or night, to get to know us a little bit better and like our tendencies.
Killer title.
Yeah. But the point is that we balance each other out. And I remember, I think it was when I was pregnant and we were just talking about parenting and things like that. And Nick, you said something along the lines of like, I'm not having a schedule with kids. Absolutely not. Like, I want them to go with the flow. But fast forward to now, and we like blast Miss Rachel and speed home to try and make a nap. So like, what changed?
I don't know. I think that I have realized that there is a significant impact to the importance of that schedule when you can. So like, take away the spontaneous days or the days when the structure doesn't work, road trip days, theme park days, when you're outside the beach, whatever. The closer you can hold to that schedule when you're able to, the better life is for them and the easier they can adapt to situations. So to me, it's like, this is where my free flow nature has become a little more structured. Like, I actually like now thinking about, okay, well, usually we would need to leave 15 minutes early. We should probably plan to leave 45 minutes early, because that means we're going to be in the car at 30 minutes and actually leave 20 minutes early, have all the right stuff with us. Like, have a pattern of who usually gets the diaper bag, who usually gets the stroller, who usually backs the car out, like all those kinds of things where in the past they were kind of annoying before we had kids to think about that kind of stuff. Now I think it's easier to directly see the fruit, the positive fruit of going through those processes while still being a little bit spontaneous. So I've probably come a little closer to the middle from the other side, whereas you've come closer to the free spirit-ish middle from your controlling side.
If I had to
not controlling, planning is
Yeah, I'm not controlling, except when I am. Just kidding. I'm not controlling. I have things that I like, and so do you. And we talk about them and compromise. But I think if I had to sum up your answer in one word, I would say experience.
Yeah.
Because, when some people are like, who arguably like don't have children, the people who've said this to us, they're like, just skip the nap, no problem. I'm like, if we just skip the nap entirely, it will not be fun for you to be around them. And then it will not be fun for me tomorrow when I'm with them and that they're still kind of like messed up from the sleep and unhappy. So it's kind of a ripple effect.
Yeah.
It's not just like one thing.
And this may like kind of sound like it's flying in the face of us saying be spontaneous early on in this podcast when you can, which I still hold to. But like, it's okay if there's not a reason for you to need to mess with the schedule. Don't feel like you have to. And it's okay to defend that to other people.
Or does not have to defend it.
No, I don't mean defend. I mean clarify more specifically.
Clarify, yeah.
When they're like, oh, like, are they able to like sleep later or whatever? And usually those questions are not coming from a place of trying to force you to mess with your schedule. They're like, usually to your point, people who don't have kids and who don't understand the impact of what they're asking. So I usually just take that as an opportunity. I'm like, oh, I could, but if we did that, the next 2 days would be unstructured. Their naps would change or go non-existent. They probably wouldn't sleep through the night. Like those little tiny details, they matter to those people. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Maybe it's not worth it for you.
Yeah. And it's definitely something that we weigh because it could seem like we're being somewhat selfish or choosing and picking and choosing like when to be unstructured.
Yeah.
And guess what? We are. I wouldn't say it's selfish, but like we have to do what's best for you. Do what's best for you. Like we have to do what's best for us and our family. And we do make those decisions and we do heavily weigh everything. It's usually not just like I guess you would call it planned spontaneity or like, I don't know.
Like we know there will be days where we can't hold to the schedule.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier.
Yeah, for sure. Which kind of like leads me into this. I'm going to sound very LA, but I'm in the middle of reading a book, or I'm listening to, if you would prefer me to say that. But it's a book called The Untethered Soul. And it's literally about, exactly. It's about like
what stones surround you while you read this book?
Amethyst and rose quartz. I am trying to, and I love rocks and crystals, by the way. So
I was not.
Okay. Anyway, I'm just saying, it's basically, you got me all like off track. But
get back in your flow.
Yeah, I'm getting back in the flow. It's not a big deal. I'm letting it pass through me. That's literally what the book is about letting life's circumstances and stuff pass through you. And sure, like I've learned about that before. It's not like a religious book on like a specific religion. It mentions lots of different ones. And I think that there are aspects, what I know best is the Bible. Like I'm like, oh, that's actually what the Bible is saying here when they're saying like, don't like turn the other cheek type thing. The problem is that like I often like harbor it in our hearts and like the body remembers. And then anyway, you do read the book, listen to it, whatever. But I almost stopped reading it because I was like, okay, not for me. Never mind. This is too much woo woo. But then I was like, okay, I can keep listening to it. And it's because I needed to hear it. And so anyway, I was already going to mention that today. And then today I started chapter 14, which is about, I'm just going to say it because it was like blew my mind. I had to rewind it like 3 or 4 times to like really get it in. But it said consistency masks as stability. So I'm going to say that again. Consistency often masks as stability. And another word that it used, it said like Buddhists use the word clingy to describe this. And clingy is a word that doesn't have like a good rap. It's like not great. Clinging. Yeah. And I was thinking about this in regard to like schedules and children. And like, it is great to have a schedule. Children thrive on schedules. But it's not the schedule that makes this consistent schedule that makes the stability. It's like how you react to things around you. Because you could give a child a perfect schedule and that theoretically could not prepare them less for the real world. Because the real world does not adhere to your schedules. Mm-hmm. So it's often better, to have those spontaneous days and, get off of the schedule every once in a while, just because it promotes adaptability. And that's also like why we travel with them, is it promotes adaptability. Like, we're already like getting that into their little bloodstreams. So also, you are making a schedule, and it's okay. This idea, I think, just makes it even more okay to mess up, which we know it's okay to mess up, but like your child seeing you mess up, not a part of the schedule, right? They can see you push forward through adversity, and like, you can apologize and things like that. So that is as much training, if not more so, than a rigid schedule. And again, your schedule you're giving them is not making them stable. How you react to things and act around them and treat them is what will make them stable moving forward in their life.
Yeah. Like what that made me think about when you said it earlier, the stable family is not the one that never trips and never experiences mistakes or anything like that. It's the ones that know how to handle it really well.
Yeah, how they get back up.
Yeah.
And I think it just, as a kid, everything is black and white. And as you get to be an adult, it's like, oh, it's a little bit more gray than that. And it's hard.
Like black is over here, white's over here, and there's gray is like
the gray space is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And it's just kind of hard to navigate. But by, getting outside that schedule, you are already helping them navigate that.
We are recognizing, actually we have been for a while now, like if something happens to us or to them, they will look at us before they react. So like to me, that's such a big reminder that they are absolutely absorbing how we're reacting and deciding how to react based on that. So like if they fall off their little bikes, which happens every day, right? Downstairs when they ride their little bikes around. They
I'll
fall
link
over.
The bikes. They're great.
Yeah. They look at us usually first, and they don't cry right away. They don't scream right away. They look at us, and they will gauge their reaction off of how much we freak out. Right.
Yeah. So you're like, oh no, oh my gosh, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. They'll start crying.
Yeah. And what we're, I think, pretty good at, like we'll say, uh-oh,
are you okay?
Like, you okay? Like, do you need me or whatever? Like just, talking to them in questions is obviously okay, but like you don't go like, oh, like or freak out, because then they will think something is terrible.
Okay, it's a big deal, I need to freak out. But they're also right now at the stage where they want mom to kiss their boo-boos, and it's really sweet. And oftentimes like that's okay, I'm good after that. Or like, if they are upset, be like, oh my gosh, that was so scary. Are you okay? Where does it hurt?
Yeah.
You can still react to them and give them what they're looking for the caring. Okay, so obviously we want to get out and do things and be spontaneous. And one way we are able to do that is by delegating our tasks elsewhere. So something we've been doing since, I don't know, was it February? It feels like a lot of this year, is using the company Rinse. They are a laundry service. They do wash and fold, hang dry, and then dry cleaning. And it has been such a relief for us. We just take our folded clothes and put them in the closet, and I don't know, it's been great.
So we pack up our dirty ones into a giant bag without having to section them out.
Yeah.
We drop them off in the front door. They come and pick them up, where we meet the person and they pick them up. And in one day, they bring the bag back, clean clothes, folded, ready to put away.
Yes. The hang dry takes a little bit longer, but honestly, it's worth it. And we have a link for you. If you use our link, I'll put it in the show notes. You get $30 off.
Ooh.
30.
That's a whole cocktail here in LA.
maybe a 1.5. They are in a lot of different locations. I know they're in Dallas, Austin, obviously LA. I think they just opened in Seattle. So there's probably a chance that it is near you. So take advantage of this and start saving time like us.
They're pretty great. Go do it. Rinse.
So I also wanted to kind of pivot this, and this is about like us as the parent, but we can talk about parenting and spontaneity in parenting. So, or freedom in parenting, which if we're just going to go more with the 4th of July theme here, makes you want a hot dog real bad. Oh, are those fireworks? Cool.
Yeah. How could you not tell?
Yeah. Thank you for those. People pay a lot of money for that. Okay. So more spontaneous parenting or rigid parenting. And I think I mentioned this before, but I was reading the Hunt Gather Parent book, and they mentioned how like America is kind of a weirdo as far as like how they parent. And it's like, one person versus like the village that it used to be. And she goes around and just learns from other villages really, and like how that they parent. And a lot of it is more freedom and like learning, and not in like there aren't boundaries. There are 100% boundaries, but it's more like a learning culture versus like telling culture. And I think like that's what we try to implement. I wouldn't label us as like strictly Montessori or like, I don't think we're helicopter parents per se, but like we're kind of just like take little bits from everything that we like. And so that is something that I really liked of like, again, there's a lot of learning to be had that kids can learn in just like everyday life from your life. And it doesn't mean that there's a bunch of kid stuff.
Yeah.
Another book that I liked was called The Collapse of Parenting, and I'll link all these below in the show notes. But it had some great points on just like boundaries and boundaries between like parents and children that should be there, because again, boundaries are there to keep us safe, to like help us be better and like things like that. They're not there to like stifle you. And like there are some of the things in the book I didn't agree with, specifically around eating, but a lot of it I did really enjoy, and how like in America we've kind of like leaned into like, okay, what does the kid want, and make it act like they're the president. Like, instead of what do you want to do today, Jemmy, it's like, okay, do you want goldfish or apples? And it's planned spontaneity, if you will. And then I'll link also the Montessori toddler book I mentioned, which again, we're not like a Montessori family, but I really do like a lot of the aspects of it. And one of the things that I really liked in that book, it was in chapter 6, and they were talking about how absorbent a child's brain is. And I think we've kind of already said it, so I don't want to say it too many times, but what we do speaks louder than what we tell them, say to them, teach them. Like your actions. It's the classic actions speak louder than words. And again,
did you just come up with that?
Wow. Again, by being spontaneous and like disembarking from the schedule and things like that, you're teaching them, and you're doing a great job.
To put a point on it, you're teaching them that is okay, while still maintaining a focus and importance on what you need to do.
Yeah. And that should take a weight off your shoulders. Like you don't have to be the perfect parent. Like literally just be how you are, apologize when you need to, explain things, and like keep going, because they're going to see that and they're going to learn from that.
Yeah. Like if you've put them down exactly at noon when they're supposed to sleep and they wake up in 30 minutes instead of 2 hours, are you mad at them?
No.
They wouldn't be mad at you for switching around the schedule a little bit when you need to.
Yeah. And also like don't apologize for the schedule. My friend Haven, who has a podcast, I'll link her podcast in the show notes. It's called Haven the Podcast, and I think she mentioned this in an episode. I don't think it was a personal conversation. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember which episode. I'll think about it. It was not a personal conversation. Like I couldn't share it. Nick's looking at me like, what are you about to say? But her nanny was laying her son down and like was like, I'm so sorry for putting you down right now. And Haven was like, you don't have to apologize. Like, because then he'll think like, oh, yeah, you have something to be sad for. You have something to apologize for. No, like that's what they're supposed to be. And like, what's best for them and like what they are needing to do. And babies need naps. Heck, I need a nap. Like, so be unapologetically their parent.
Yeah. Yeah. That just this is not to your point, but you just reminded me that Cypress has started to pick up on when he's supposed to be sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
So when it's about bedtime, even right before the bedtime routine, he'll come up and he'll go, sleep?
Yeah, I do
like,
the little hands.
Ask about it. And yeah, he'll do this sometimes. It's so cute. So cute.
Yeah, because again, children like thrive on schedules.
Yeah.
But again, it's not always going to go their way, and teaching them that now will pay dividends in the future. Anything else on that?
No, I think we covered it. I just call to action is go do the things you want to do and bring the people who you love, who are your family, along with you.
Yeah, love it. So we're going to end with what I'm going to call Ask BGMAD.
New segment.
So this was a little write-in question, and it plays into today. So I'm just going to read it. I'm a first-time mom to twins. They're still in the 4th trimester, so under 12 weeks old. And I need help getting my husband on the same page. It feels like we fight all the time now about how to raise them. We didn't really fight before. I'm all about having a good routine for them, like taking care of babies, which is sleep training, joining twin groups and educating myself through literature, etc. I'm trying to implement all the good newborn routines, and they are doing pretty well for the most part. I don't know why, but my husband is against all these things for no particular reason. He says the rules seem fine, but the babies are also fine without all those rules and stipulations. he says I'm the mom, so I make all those rules, but he doesn't have to follow them. He also says the routine is useless because I still get anxious and complain about things. What would you do?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you can answer. I was going to start off and say like 12 weeks is under 12 weeks is still in the weeds. You're doing
Thick, long weeds.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. Like you're educating yourself. I think we somewhat relate, but I pretty much did the research, not because Nick didn't want to, but because like I think I had more opinions on that and had done
When
more
you
research.
have a thought about that kind of stuff, you usually pursue it immediately.
Mhm.
I have a lot of the same. This is something we had to learn.
Mhm.
I had to learn. Rather, both of us did. I had very similar thoughts around similar times, but I filed it away to look at later. Sometimes I did. Sometimes you already had.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I'm stealing your thought, but that led to you thinking you were the one that had to carry that burden when in reality you were just doing it first.
Yeah.
We hadn't discussed it.
Yeah, and like you're doing a great job implementing like newborn routines is hard. And like by doing any of that, like it was a more detailed description, but like
I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But like doing that at all, like it's not going to be perfect. They're newborns. They're not robots. So like, no, it's not going to be perfect all the time. And like, you're totally valid to feel anxious and you have every right to complain because it's like, I understand it's not like complaining, but like, use your partner. Like you want to talk about what's frustrating you or what's been hard. And like, even if you don't have twins, like twins is a different animal, but like even without twins, having one child, like you have every reason to like feel that way. So I guess I apologize and I say like, I'm sorry, that must be really rough because it almost feels like you're going through that alone. Yeah. Do you want to answer since you're a guy?
I have a few challenges.
Okay.
One for each of them. So I would challenge the person who's doing all the research and feels like she has to carry that burden to talk about that with their partner and understand whether that is actually an expectation set on her. It kind of sounds like it might be in this case, but it's probably a good conversation to have because, like, again, in our case, you felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not mad at you if you weren't looking at certain things. I wasn't pressuring you to look at them. You were just looking at them first and more often. Which caused you, because we hadn't talked about it, to think that you had to carry that burden. So us having a few of those conversations, I think, helped to motivate me to look into more stuff and helped you to understand that you weren't carrying that burden alone and you didn't have to. You just had fallen into that place. I think for this person, there may be a misalignment of expectations around not only the burden of researching all the things, but also childcare itself. For example, and this is maybe the challenge to the other parent, the spouse. In my opinion, for you and I, our relationship, even though I know that you probably do know more because you've been researching more, I in no way expect you to be the one who has to know more and has to set the rules and boundaries. And I think it would be unfair of me to expect that. So, and maybe that's a difference in how we want to run our household compared to others, but I would challenge the other person, like, it is your responsibility as well to help understand how you want to parent and understand the structures around your kid's schedule and why they exist. If you don't understand, ask. How many times have I asked you, like, that doesn't really make sense to me. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And, sometimes you were upset, but generally it's because of the way I asked, not because I asked questions.
Well, no, and I think it's like I got frustrated at times, and I think in that 12-week mark, it was kind of hard for us, not because you were against whatever I had researched, but you just hadn't, and maybe sometimes I got frustrated that you
that
didn't
was before
know.
we had those,
And like we were watching a show, we were watching Shrinking on Apple Plus, and I forget her name because I refer to her name. Her name's Krista Miller in real life, but I refer to her as Jordan because that was her name in Scrubs.
Yeah.
And I forget what her character's name
She's awesome.
in Shrinking is. But her husband asked, like, do you know where the scissors are? And her response was, have you looked in the drawer that they always have been? And I just like look at Nick and I was like, I know what she said was wrong, but so often I feel that way of like, do you not even care? Do you not even like know your house? Is it just up to me? Like, to fill your drawer with batteries
to continue
and toilet paper?
Different reference. What else did you say though? What did you say to me? And you paused the show and said what? To me, you asked me a question.
What should I have said instead? What should you
said? What would you prefer to have
heard?
Oh yeah,
instead? What would you prefer?
Because you and which I really liked the way you asked that, because you knew that you wanted to ask that same question to me a million times about a million other things, but you also recognized that probably wasn't the way you should have asked it. And like the line in the show served a purpose and was funny.
Yeah.
But in real life, like I liked that you asked that question, and my answer is kind of off topic from what we're talking about. But my answer was like, oh, have you checked the drawer to the right of the fridge?
Yeah.
You know, and like, maybe I didn't say this last night, but like maybe another thing you could have been like, oh, that's usually where I keep it, or that I think that's where we've been keeping it, or something that doesn't assign blame to the person who's asking. Right.
Yeah.
So you can still express like, this is where it usually is, without saying like, it's in the dang drawer, it always is, or like, have you checked where it goes? Which I get really frustrated at those answers. That's a personal thing. If I'm asking you where is something and you say where it usually is, that is 0% an answer to my question. It only serves the purpose of making me upset.
And the whole reason I brought this up is because in that first 12 weeks, you are very much in the newborn fog. With twins, you're in it times 2. And it is hard. And you are both going to be tired and stuff like that. So I think it's easier to get frustrated at each other.
Yeah.
And also during that time, I know like you asked me questions. I'm like, I forwarded you the email that had the taking care of babies.
Which
like,
is the same
why
thing
are
as
you
saying where it
asking
always
me?
goes. Yeah.
Well, it was frustrating to me because I'm like, I gave you the knowledge and you're not using it and you're using me and I'm tired and I want to close my eyes and sleep in something. So ultimately, I don't know. It's a hard time. And I think if you could both figure out how to give each other grace, I mean, something that we did the twiniversity, like twin parenting class, like before they were born. And they ended it with like, being a twin parent is hard. And like as far as statistics go about like marriages staying together but you can do it. And like, you know, maybe it's time to do couples therapy. My sister told us that we should start that before the twins were born and we didn't.
We've been talking about it for years.
We've been talking about it.
Pulled the trigger.
It's on our to-do list.
As a maintenance thing.
Because again, I think you, the reader who wrote in, could like use that. And then I know sometimes it's hard to get the other person to go, but at the very least you could go yourself and at least like work on yourself in that way and like maybe be able to take things a little bit easier.
Yeah. There's probably some empathy on both sides. There's some communication that needs to happen. I do really think though that the misalignment of expectations needs to be addressed and discussed, you know, because clearly this is not a family who's agreed that the mom is taking on the burden of the structure and maintaining the structure and everything. That's something that has happened that one party doesn't agree with. So that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. I mean, unmet expectations is one of the 4 main reasons people argue. Am I messing up that? I think
I just laughed at myself because I thought I expect us to have aligned expectations.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that funny. In my head,
we
that
talked
was
about that in marriage counseling before we got married. You can do it. I believe in you.
Be spontaneous. Go do the things you want to do. Bring your kids that you've brought into the world along with you, and you're going to love it.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's not always easy,
and they're
but it's
going to
worth
love it too. This is not just about you as the parent.
Yeah.
They will love it as well.
Yes. Yes, yes. All good. Thank you so much for listening to us. If you like today's episode, please give us a rating. Give us those 5 stars, or if you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. You can also write us. Did I already say review?
Nope.
Okay, write us. I got distracted by you counting on your fingers.
Yeah. Counting's hard.
You can write us a review. This helps us grow, and we want to keep growing with you.
Yes, we do. Thanks for being here and listening.
Yep. To learn more, you can go to boygirlmom.com. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter. We send out every Wednesday with extra tidbits of information we do not put anywhere else. And follow us on Instagram at boygirlmom.com. We're
Thanks
also on
listening.
TikTok and Facebook. And we have a Twitter. We don't use it that much, but we do have a Twitter. Tweet. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Boy, girl, mom died. Gotta wash those butts together. It's a trip, but we'll guide you through with tips and tricks for boys and girls too.